And we are live.
Meanwhile, we can.
We are live. Thank you very much for tuning in to this live session on Facebook and YouTube. This is the Pan-African conversation on art and refugees. Um, we are currently waiting for two other people to join us, but I'm
Yeah.
seeing we still have we have viewers who are streaming in.
Yes.
Yes, awesomeness, awesomeness. Great. Uh, Now, uh, Masisi here will start us off with a brief introduction. Feel free to hit us with two or three lines of what you've done before, so that like we can get the ball rolling. Tell us where you're from. Uh, tell us where you're from, and what your name is. But after you give us two or three lines of your life, let's go, Masisi.
Let people understand that
Could we have things?
no one choose live and right home is a mouth of shark. I've seen people die like a flies, and this makes me question myself. Where do birds fly after the last sky? And where do refugees go after the last border? My name is Masisi Janvier. I'm a refugee from Congo.
Awesome, awesome. Mr. Poor, please unmute yourself and then give us two lines. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, on it. We're not
Bobby,
speak up. Speak up.
hello. Ah, Bobby. Bobby. Okay.
Maka, man.
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you loud and clear. We can hear you loud and clear. Man, hit us with a few lines of a poem you have, maybe two or three, and then tell us where you're tuned in from.
Please hold on. I'm setting up my stuff.
Okay. Let me go to someone else. Poet K2. Please.
Yes. Okay. So because of my nationality, nowadays I've become a daily victim of police brutality. Anytime a fight breaks out in my neighborhood and the police comes by to catch people and they see me, they'll be like, put him in, he's from South Sudan.
Yeah.
And let me just tell you guys this. Just because I'm from South Sudan doesn't mean that I'm violent.
Yes.
Just because that I'm from South Sudan doesn't mean I started the fight. Just like the quote of my hero, John Garen, says, you only become violent when fighting for your life and for your right. Poet K2 from South Sudan. I'm happy to be here, and thank you guys for having me.
Awesomeness. Next we have
Spontaneous, you can take over.
Hi, everybody. How are you? So, before Enigma gets to finish up, I would love everyone to just mute their mics kindly. Thank you so much. So maybe Mosesi could take over and introduce himself.
Oh, everyone can do it. I mean, getting in.
Hi guys. So I
Hi.
think we are having a challenge with the network. I'm assuming we may as well start with a few people that we have around. Yes. So probably Dave could take over with our introduction segment.
Okay, hi everybody. I
Hi.
so I'm gonna start with a few lines before you guys get to know me. They say a man ain't supposed to cry, but the pain is too much, it's eating me up inside. Looking straight to my eyes, I'm sick with them lies. What happened to my ride or die? What happened to us till the end of time? Because of you, I get high sometimes. Hi guys, I'm Dave Ertuk from Kakuma refugee camp, but I am currently tuning in from Nairobi. Nice to meet you guys.
Awesomeness. Something apparently happened. I'm not sure what, but let me let the lady introduce herself.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Adigma. Um, my name is Spontaneous the Poet. I am a spoken word artist. I am the CEO of Anika Initiative. I work very closely with the Enigma Desmond, with the Anika team actually. Well, I shall not say much yet, but I am also an artist under Spontaneous Treehouse tag. Yes, and I'm happy to be here because I know that trying another person's shoe will never quite say much about someone's story. I know that trying to use your own words to describe a situation might give half an idea of what the story looks like, but when it comes from the person's own mouth, then it makes a lot of sense. So just listen. Take this time for the World Refugees Day to be mindful of the refugees. Let's hear their stories. Let's listen to their tales. Let's hear their music. Let's understand and try to fit in their shoes because they are not a tag, but they are just people. So hashtag try my shoe. Thank you. Over to you, Enigma.
Awesomeness. Awesomeness. Yeah. So, when a refugee asks you if you can walk a mile in their shoes, maybe it's not their shoes they want you to walk in. Maybe they do not want you to relate to the realization that, alas, they too have feet and feet sweat. Maybe all they want for you to know is that they are human and human beings have feet. Yeah? And feet demand to be dressed in shoes. Sometimes it's a very good pair of Jordans. Most times it's a very durable pair of Akala. Welcome to today's discussion. It is the penultimate discussion for the refugee series. We are going to have a very good 1 hour of conversations on what it means to be an artist, to be a refugee, and to be a Pan-African person, somebody living in Africa who wants to be plugged into the conversations that will make our continent ultimately better. Now, my name is Enigma Creative. I perform on stage as Enigma Creative. I also double up as the communications lead for the Anika Initiative. Yeah, so let's get the ball rolling. I want to ask Masisi a question. Yeah, Masisi, tell us about your experience being a Congolese refugee in Rwanda. Like, how do you feel? How do you feel the difference? What is your experience? Just talk to us about it. Let us get a feel. Unmute your microphone first.
Kindly unmute.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we hear you.
Yes.
All right. So I've been in refugee camps since from 2005. I remember I was 12 years old, and it was a very difficult life because at that time we had no food, and the available food was so bad because it was maize and beans. It was a very difficult time. So we didn't have any education, but as time went on, UNHCR provided some schools, which wasn't good, but our parents forced us to join schools, and we had that chance, and we praise the Lord.
Amen.
So it was a great time because we had nothing as a refugee. We had nothing. Eating was a very big problem. Sleeping, we used to live in a small house, 2 to 5 parents there, kids here. You know, sometimes we used to sleep head inside but legs outside. You know, uh, so the time went on. For those who focused on the education, they got a chance of joining national schools, and that's why today I'm someone else because I joined education. So let me jump a bit. Refugees and the national people. So we don't have an opportunity of accessing all the staffs, more special jobs, some government staffs. We don't have the right of accessing those things such as job opportunity. Refugees cannot get job in the government, even though you can have experience, you can be smart enough to do different kind of jobs, but you cannot be hired in the government. So another thing is the way people looking at you. Sometimes they try to differentiate you from others. He's a refugee, he have no country. So I don't know. They have the way they take refugees in their minds. Sometimes they say he cannot do anything apart from sitting home and waiting for UNHCR food. So that kind of life forced me to write, and then I take decision of put my tears on the paper. So I started writing from. I remember it was 2012. I started writing my poems and speaking to myself because I didn't have any platform of performing them. So I think writing poems helped me to be me because the time I was younger, I used to write and speak to myself, talk to my heart, just renew myself, make sure that I'm good at the end of the day. So back on days, I lost my parents. I have one parent, but my father died during the war. And I came in exile with only my mom, so we lived together. But right now she lives in the camp. If you don't me, I live in Kigali. So I forced myself to write, hoping that it will help me something, and this came true. So day by day, I try to look forward, to change my life day by day through writing. I remember one day I met with Desmond. It was at Yaya Poetry here in Rwanda, in Kigali. I performed a poem that is called My Home, and it was my first poem, to be honest. My home does not care about me. So I realized after all the years in the exile, my home doesn't even say we have refugees outside the country, so they have to come back. So that's why I wrote that poem that is saying my home does not care about me. Maybe I realized that when a government are safe, when government have no war, it's very hard to remember that they have some people outside of the country. So I think refugees in this country, To some extent they are good, but however, those who are educated, they are not good enough just because they cannot be hired in the government staffs. In summary, that's me.
Wow.
We are, and we celebrate you, man. We love
Yeah.
we love the far you've come, and we're going to be listening to everybody's story. I want to bring in Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul is with us from Ghana, but he's actually a Liberian refugee. Mr. Paul, please tell us about your experience in like a minute. Yeah.
Okay. Good evening there to you guys. I hope you are getting me. Are you hearing me right?
Yeah, we are getting you.
Okay. Okay. As you can see, a guy sitting on red beside me. He's my friend, almost like brother to me. He and I did a video I sent to you, Ruby. Uh, he's also a refugee right here. But we all went through the same thing as a refugee in Ghana. We've been here for the past 10 years. And as you saw in the video, I think no one will feel pleased to live that type of life, especially the thing we went through on the camp. Uh, the stigma alone we carry being a refugee is too much, especially in Africa. So if you are going through stuff like that, I advise everyone, not only in Africa, the whole world, no one will be happy to be a refugee. And I'm not encouraging anyone to be a refugee because a refugee life looks like something is not normal. If you want to do something like going to school, you can't afford to go to school because in Africa, we are not taking each other to be like refugee anywhere you go, especially in Ghana. If you want to go to school, they will tell you to pay foreign fees, and the foreign school fees, no refugee can afford to get it. And there was no scholarship for us. And again, the health condition on the camp is in a terrible state because the water we drink, the food we eat, the life we live in is bad. Uh, it's very bad. I can't even explain. That's why I put some in the video. Living in a place where about 4 5 guys living in one room is too much. Being a refugee, you can move around freely. Life as a refugee is very difficult, especially to where I am now. Uh, you can't afford to move around freely. And in doing that, the healthcare is messed up. You don't have rights, too much of violence on the camp to where we live. And you can't say anything because you are a foreigner. All that stuff make everything very difficult for us.
Yeah.
And yes, I can encourage anyone to be a refugee
Yeah.
because the stigma, like if you want to get anything, you go to hospital, they will tell you, oh, you have to pay this amount, you have to pay this because why? You are a foreigner. They don't call us refugee anymore. They call us foreigners, and you have to pay foreign fees. The last time I went to hospital, my auntie was sick. I took her to one of the biggest hospitals in Ghana, and they told us if the citizens are paying $25, I'm going to pay $75 because I'm a foreigner. I have to triple it. You
Yeah.
see that? And we don't have the money. We have to bring the woman back home to just live with the sickness. It's been 2 years. She just been at that. So all that stuff we went through, I can encourage anyone to say I will be a refugee because even a day war in your country will be very bad for you. And these are stuff we went through as a refugee.
Yeah.
And that's why I can encourage anyone to become a refugee or to even think of it. It's not a good life, it's not a decent life. We went through things.
Yeah.
Even before getting to Ghana, we slept in the bush for so many days.
Yeah.
Sometimes parents lost from the kids lost from the parent, no one know their word about. It's too bad. So that's why I have to say now, I'm
Okay.
encourage you
Yes.
that when you see or hear of anywhere, we all should come together to put hands around the person. We have to build each other up.
Yeah.
We all have skills and talent in us. We just
Yeah.
need someone that will promote you or build you up physically, spiritually, and mentally. So that's what I have to say. We all need each other. We are all African. We are all
We
human. We need to build each other up. We need one another. Togetherness, we can make it. That's what
we
I have to say for now.
we
And I'm
hear
very
you.
happy to be. I'm very happy to be in this group.
We're very
Not
happy
only
to
for
have you.
today,
Yeah.
but I want us to always be together as a group. Apart from today program, we always I would like for us to keep in touch and see how best we can move forward in life. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you so much. I want to ask Dave and Poet K2. You guys are in Kenya. Can you draw any differences between your stories and the stories of Masisi and Poa? Let's start with you, Dave.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Paul and Masisi. Listening to you guys, there's one thing that I did realize from both of you stories is that refugees have a collective story, as one. And just to correct Mr. Paul, it's not an argument, but when you said don't ever be a refugee, there is something people don't understand is that refugees, like no one chooses to be a refugee. That's the first thing first. You know, you find yourself being displaced, you know, maybe because your life is in danger, your country is at stake, or economic crisis. So when they were like telling their stories, I found that one collective story that we have as refugees, and that is no one chose to be a refugee. And to draw the differences, being in Kenya as a refugee, I was literally born here. So, and one thing that I found so funny so far is whenever somebody asks me, Dave, where were you born? And then I'll be like, I was born in Kenya. A lot of people be like, you're not a citizen? That's the first thing a lot of people ask. And I'll be like, no, I'm not a citizen. And, with that response comes a lot of questions from them. Why? Why not? And that's because there's so many policies, based around refugees that restricts refugees. Being in Kenya and being Ghana, there might be a little differences when it comes to policies and laws that guide refugees, but we still have restrictions here, even still living in Kenya. I was literally born here, and what I have went through, in case of being subjected to police brutality, or in case of other people telling me go back to your country. Um, I've experienced all of that, and I guess I'm not the only one who does go through this discrimination. So it is something that is happening. Well, over the time, Kenyan have learned to accept that there's some other people living with them, and looking back in retrospect, it was bad by then than it is now. Right now, I think Kenyan have started integrating refugees that are living with them, and they have started to sensitize people on the issues and the norms based around refugees and what people believe about refugees. So yeah, there might be still laws and restrictions based around refugees, but being here is great. Being in Kenya, I can say it has been saved.
Awesome. Awesome. Before we jump into the, I'm seeing there are a lot of comments up on the comment section. I'm sure Spontaneous will take us through them. But before we do that, I want to listen to hear from Poet K2. What's what difference in stories do you see? What parallels do you draw from the conversation on Mr. Paul's experience, Masisi's experience, Ed Jock's experience? Yeah, preach to us.
So just add the stories that each one of us are saying. My brother from Ghana, my brother from Rwanda, and my brother from South Sudan that is within Kenya right now. So I've had the stories, and mostly, if you noticed, when I first introduced myself, I started with a little piece of 2 lines that talks about police brutality that my brother just talked about. That is Dave. At times, being a refugee nowadays, I'm not trying to quote it in a bad way, but it's something that I've experienced most of the time. At times, there's some types of documents that as a refugee, if you don't have them, some of the police, I'm not saying the police, the entire police squad, but some of the police take that as an advantage to get through you. Because in the recent days, I've been a few days ago, as I was in town, a policeman stopped me and told me that, hey, where are your papers? So the first thing that came onto my mind was like, what's happening? So sorry about that. So the first thing that came onto my mind when it, hello, sorry about that. So the first thing that came onto my mind when he first asked me why your papers, the first thing that came onto my mind is that if it was back in South Sudan, if I was just walking by, a policeman wouldn't stop me and ask me why. So the first thing that happened is identity, that they've known that I'm a refugee. So the kind of documents that you needed to be with, the kind of documents that I'm needed to have so that I can be in the country. So the picture of being a refugee nowadays comes with a lot of advantage, and that's one of the disadvantages you go through as a daily basis, having to identify myself or introduce myself to each and every person that I get, so that they can know where I am from. Like most of the people will like ask me this question that I'm always asked most of the time. I'm not always happy with it, but I have to bear with it as time goes by. But what's happening back in your country, and what do you think you can do as a citizen who's now in Kenya of whatever that is happening back at home? Sometimes this is what I always say. I've been in Kenya for the last 21 years, more than 21 years. So living in a foreign country, granted a name that is a refugee, there's so many questions that comes onto your mind. What's happening back home? What are some of these things that are happening back at home, and what if whatever that is happening back at home did not happen? How will life be? Because being a refugee now, life has been very different. If I was to compare a citizen in South Sudan right now and a citizen who's a South Sudanese in the refugee camp, Kakuma refugee camp, they're living two different lives. For me, who is a refugee in Kakuma refugee camp, when it comes to food, I depend on the United Nations, which I give thanks back to. When it comes to shelter, I also depend on the United Nations, which I give thanks back to, because without them, I wouldn't have had those kind of things. When it comes to education, I depend on the United Nations too, and some of my sisters, my brothers are depending on the United Nations too. just because of the United Nations. But what I'm trying to say is that if I was at home right now, I can say that the kind of education that I and my sisters are in right now is that good, because back in the camp, you'll find that there's congestion of too many people. An example is nowadays, if you get information, that is there's primary schools in Kakuma and high schools in Kakuma nowadays. People's refugees are coming in within Kakuma each and every time, and the more they come, the more the number multiplies, and the more each one of them wants education, each one of them wants shelter. Like the certain schools that are now in Kakuma refugee camp, it has gone to an extent whereby when it comes to the issue of the education, some of the pupils, there's the morning section where the entire schools comes in the morning. Then from 7 to 1 p.m., the school is cleared. So from 1 to 4 p.m., another population of people come in. So being in that environment, at times getting clearly whatever it's being learned, it's very difficult. At times to access to some things like documents that I just talked about. Nowadays, as refugees, getting documents to travel around the country, to go see people, visit people around the area, or let's say getting out of the country. As refugees, getting such a document nowadays has become very hard. It's very difficult. It takes time. Those are some of the challenges that being a refugee have faced so far. And I think as time goes by, if God willing, one day, one time, all this will change. And I'll not talk much since my brother Dave here said the other part, and since we are
Can I
all
add
from
something?
country, so thank you.
Can I add something on that?
Yeah, sure.
There's one thing that I forgot that Mosisi talked about, and that is the inequality that is still existing. If you go to like most of the refugee camps, you go to Dadaab. I have not been outside other refugees camps that are based outside Kenya, but in contrast to what is said, the refugee camps in Kenya, we have that inequality when it comes to like work and when it comes to opportunities as refugees. And it's true. You would find, a refugee who is as much skilled as a national doing the same job or 10 times, as much as the national, worker. And the amount that is being paid, yeah, the wages that are being given are totally different. For example, in 2018, I was working in Kukuma. I think the highest paid refugees come from 10,000. That is $100. And if you get to see that amount of money that is given to a refugee and you compare it to the amount of money, or the salary that is given to a national, it is totally different, or 10 times, larger than the refugees. And that is an equality that has been existing since, and that deprives the refugees, of the opportunities or growth. For example, it deprives refugees of growth because as much as any other, national have a dream, refugees as much as anyone have dreams too, and they have goals that they want to achieve. And living around those laws and living around, those restrictions and laws that are, binding them not to do things becomes a hindrance. I have watched people grow old, to be honest. I was born in the camp, and I was lucky enough to have an education and to also join university. But I have watched people grow old from my childhood, to where they are right now. They have probably grown old, with lost hope. There's a poem that I performed I think on Tuesday. It was on Tuesday when we went for the interview with an 8 months. It says, young refugees getting old before they achieve their goals. Young refugees getting old before they make it to the pot of gold. When I wrote that line, I was speaking from experience, from what I see that is going on around the camp. The fact that the norms that I put that I put around refugees, and the fact that the restrictions themselves are hindering them from growth or from even getting outside Kenya or even coming inside. Not sorry, we inside Kenya, but going to other countries or going to other, like coming to Nairobi, going to Nakuru or other towns in Kenya to find opportunities for themselves. That hinders them. The laws that bind them and says the refugees cannot travel out of the camp and inside the camp bind them to lose hopes and to lose those opportunities that were meant for them to grow. So there are so many laws and restrictions that are based around refugees. And just like my brother K2 said, in the future, hopefully, we cannot hope. That's what I can say. We cannot hope or we cannot wish. But just like we have in this conversation around here right now, this is what we can do. Have conversations that really matters, and address issues which are refugees issues. For us to be able to come out and say, I am just like you. Before I joined the university, there was one thing that I was afraid of, being judged or being told you're a refugee, because that is something that I've been facing all of my life. And being an adult and going through that phase in life, it hits you different to realize, oh, I don't have a country, or to realize, oh, I grew up in a country where I'm not accepted. So those laws and those restrictions and norms that are based around refugees can not only be wished, but we can address them. And I believe it has changed over time. It is not as much. It is not as much, worse as it was before when the host community did not first accept the refugees. But I believe we can address these issues. The inequality, the laws, that are based around refugees and the norm, so people can be sensitized, when it comes to them. And it's funny when people say refugees are people just like you and me. First, I laugh at that statement, and that's because why should we have to remind a fellow human being that we're human beings, that we are just as same as them, or we have, we have same dreams, or we have dreams and goals just as them. And sometimes it becomes a matter of humanity looking at a brother or looking at another person and telling yourself, yeah, this person is like me, or this person is like that and that. So I think we can be able to address these issues so people can listen, and we can change the mindset around, the laws and the norms that are based around refugees and how they can maneuver the life they have been, subjected to. Thank you.
Great. Spontaneous. Take us through the. There's a lot of feedback I'm getting here. I take us through the.
The comment section. Thank you so much, Robin, for bringing me in. But I'll just like to make a mention that I am honestly really really touched by everything that has been said, and especially the part where Edrock just said, why do we have to remind people that we are also human beings like they are? That really spoke. Anywho, let me do that switch that I have been advised to. So the comment section is amazing. So we have Rachel Viche saying she's tuned in. She's saying awesome Robin. Well, pleasantries, thank you guys so much. BR Alak Queer says he's tuned. Faith Atieno sends the, how do I say it, the fingers like she's loving the conversation. Omosh Omosh says this is awesome stuff. Bilboa says hello to everyone. Budoi, I believe he's from Peace and Culture, says I'm tuned. Nice discussion. Faith mentions that happy World Refugee Day to each one of you. We can't do much, but at least we can listen to your stories. So yeah. Debbie Deborah Ayen says, Happy Refugee Day to my fellow refugees. Keep enduring as you do your best. I believe our stars will shine one day. And then we have there's some such love in these comments. We have Waziri Robi Filosomani. Yosema mkimbizi anapitia mengi sana popote pale. Cha muhimu ni sisi kuwachukulia kama wenzetu na kuishi nao vizuri. Uh, I believe we're all good in Swahili, yeah? Or may I translate? Robin, kindly advise. Okay. Deborah also says, umesema ukweli bro. I'm not sure what who it was, but I believe a comment has been appreciated. Manuela Knight says, Happy World Refugee Day to all that are surviving like me. We should be kind towards the refugees because we have been forced to leave our homes to survive and stay alive. That's just the feedback we are getting from Facebook. When I go down to YouTube, okay, I'll just read. There's congratulatory messages. Enigma, my fellow ASAC, I'm seeing you. Very inspirational stories coming from Frederick Gasheru says that. Yes, I believe I have read all the comments. I don't know. Take it back to you, Robin. I would love to hear what you guys feel about these comments. I'm overwhelmed. Yes.
Yeah. So I those are very interesting views, because today we just wanted to have a conversation that is centered around our friends here who are refugees, and what they would want to tell everybody who's listening. If you've been following the Refu series, we've been having a series of discussions that have brought us a lot of resource people who have been in places in education, in mental health, in the provision of essential services among refugee communities. And they've been giving us entire insights on how refugees live their day-to-day lives in countries that are they haven't called home for a very long time. Today we just wanted to listen to our fellow refugees as they tell us themselves, and also we wanted to question this thing that has brought us together, this thing that has brought us into RefuPoet. We are not all of us refugees. And I dare say the only thing that unites us, all of us here, on the six of us on this screen, is the fact that we are artists. And so it begs the question, how much more powerful is artistic expression? Because already we are seeing it's bringing Mr. Poa from who is a Liberian refugee in Ghana. It's bringing Erjok and Poet K2 who are from Sudan, South Sudan. It's bringing Masisi who is a refugee in Rwanda, but he's actually a Congolese national. Yeah, so I want us to go the few remaining 15 or 20 minutes or so of this conversation. I want us to talk about how much more we see the art that we do as artists, as human beings, as refugees, as Africans. How much do we see the potential it has to bring us even much more closer? What potential do we have to have a bigger, impactful conversation on our situations as nationals of countries that have been fortunate enough to not experience war and other stochastic events, and how much it affects you, the refugee, and how do we merge our stories so that we see ourselves as human beings? Who do I start with? Let me start with Masisi. Masisi has been silent for so long.
Okay. Starting for me, art have become something like medicine for me. I've been doing art because I was so angry, man, so angry, man. But doing art saved me from something else to someone else. You know, writing poems and talk to myself, talk with my heart, inspire myself doing what I love. It's something that changed my life totally. Another thing, doing this kind of art, it's also heal the broken souls from my village, from my camp, because I've been performing poetry in commemoration of a refugee camp. Because there's some people who died during the war, so and then when they came here in the refugee camp, they started doing some commemorations to remember their relations and their families who died during the war. So I used to perform my poems during that commemoration. So and people shed tears, heal themselves through poetry because I've been saying what's already happened during the war. So for my side, I hope art can be a best result to those who have broken souls, more especially refugees, because um, poetry, it is just a kind of express yourself, express emotions, talk what inside, and tell people how you feel about what happened to you. Tell people about your past. And when you talk about your past, you already get healed. You feel like you're free from the past. You're no longer a prisoner of your past. So for my side, poetry saved my life. 100% sure. I'm agree with it, and I'm not going to stop this kind of art. I'm just going to keep pushing, speak to those who cannot speak for themselves, speak for myself, speak to the world. And I believe that me myself, I can be my own nation. Maybe it's true. I don't have a home, but I have the world. So if I have my fellow refugees around, we can meet and talk. Maybe I believe that everywhere you find a smile can be home. Yeah.
Great. Let's have Mr. Paul. Mr. Paul, you can unmute yourself now, and then you tell us, what does it mean to be an artist for you, and how has it helped you, to cope with your situation, and what potential do you think art has to bring all of us together, both refugees and nationals of different countries within the continent?
Okay. So, being a refugee artist in different countries, I think it's very little bit difficult because, like, where I am in Ghana, mostly what affect the foreigners is a language barrier. Because if you are an artist and you can't speak the language, you find it difficult to break through as an artist. And in going through that, it will take you a time to get to know how to speak the local dialect or language. And in doing that, it also affect your work as an artist. And I think we can use this platform to get ourselves together, become one family. Because if you are artist as a refugee, you don't have the first startup. Like if you want to use something like getting into movie or getting into production, you find it hard getting through because you don't have financial help. No one is helping you from anywhere. As an artist, you have to do your own means, find means and how to get through. And I also have a lot of experience, especially to where I am in Ghana. The language is very hard. So breaking through the people as an artist is very difficult. So I think as we are on this platform, it will help some of us to break through because being in production internationally, it will help because I believe people from around the world, when we get together, it will be easy for us because we will speak the same language. like English or French. So that will make it very easy for us to get closer to each other. Because as a refugee in Ghana, the people respect your culture and your dialect. And if you can speak in Ghana, especially as a refugee, it gave you problem. But
I think we lost. I think we lost Mr. Paul for a
I
bit.
know there is something stay there. There's hope for everyone.
Yes. The last thing I had was there's hope for everyone, and I agree. Um,
Okay. Yeah. Hello.
yes,
I'm sorry for the network. I'm
yes,
sorry. That's the network. This is
it's
Africa.
fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
as I was saying, I think being an artist and also being a refugee is very difficult, especially in Ghana. You have to know the people very well, and the people we are living, the country, especially the country we live in, they always put their people first in everything.
Yeah.
And as a refugee, when you get among the people, they will say, "Oh, hi, how are you? Who are you?" As soon you tell the people that, "Oh, I'm a refugee in Ghana. I'm from Liberia, or I'm from so and so country," they will put you at the back. So it's very difficult for us to break through in Ghana. But I'm very happy to be among you guys today. And I know this is starting. This is the starting. We still have hope as a refugee. We know that there is something tomorrow that we can to make our breakthrough, especially if you have your talent in you and you're looking for to bring it up. It's very difficult to where I am. But I'm very happy to be with you guys. And also, I'm happy to see my refugee brothers from around the world, especially in Africa. So I hope that we can keep in touch to make this place a better place for all of us. That's all I have to say for now.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Mr. Paul. I want to ask Dave and Poet K2. I'll start with Dave. Dave, my question to you is this. Um, when I was throughout the week, I've learned a lot personally, and it dawned on me that the only reason we are having a conversation around refugees is because, especially in Africa, long ago before colonialism, we did not have borders. Yeah. So if you are somebody who lives in what is now South Sudan, and there was conflict there, and you just marched over to Uganda, what you do is you talk to the Kabaka who is there, and they apportion you a piece of land, and then you start your life and you continue. Nobody will tell you, oh, where are your papers for this and that. And I feel like there's a bigger conversation that we need to have as Africans on what unifying the content would mean for us, and especially our refugee statuses and everything. But the question I have for you is this: you as an artist, who is a Sudanese national, who has been born and has lived and has like benefited from their host community, that's Kenya. Uh, what possibilities do you see for new refugees coming in from where you call home, coming from South Sudan? Yeah, this is a question for both you and K2. Do you feel like the trade you're practicing as an artist can help them, deal with what they're dealing with? Can it help them see the continent as a better place and as a wider home, despite the fact that they have experienced a lot of bad things from where they're coming from? Over to you, Dave.
Um, um, when you said, how do you see the art, the upcoming, refugees? There is something that I said to K2 a couple of days ago, or was it, 1 or 2 days ago? I think it was on a comment on Facebook. He rather said that to me. Whatever we're doing right now as an artist, it's not just for ourselves. Whatever platform we are trying to create, it's not just for ourselves, but either paving a way for the upcoming generation. You can look in retrospect 10 years ago, we do not have this kind of art or this kind of expression because I do take poetry or any type of art as a sort of expression, whatever you're feeling, you're going through. And when you say that, it is true. For example, I believe poetry is very powerful. Um, and poetry have enabled me to be able to address a lot of issues that if I would have went to someone and say, "Hi, I want to tell you my story," they would not have listened. But given the art and given poetry and the type of platforms it has shaped way and not just for me, for the other refugees that were they were quiet and they were unable to express themselves. You know, they have taken up that form now, whether it's music, you're doing rap, or whether you're singing, you're doing poetry. That is art. They use it to express themselves, and not just for them, but to pave the way. So I believe whatever we're doing right now plays a very big part, and it depends. Whatever we're doing right now will foretell whatever that will foretell and would be the dependent of whatever that would happen, in the future for the upcoming, refugees. So yeah, poetry and the way we're doing it right now, we are paving a way not just for ourselves, but for the upcoming generation, who we are allowing or giving a platform for them to be able to express themselves and tell their stories. So yeah, poetry and this type of platform is surely going to help, pave the way for the upcoming refugees.
Poet K2.
Okay, can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes,
It's like a bit of a volume on my thing. I don't know what happened.
we can hear you.
I'm having a bit of a sound problem. We will just. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We can hear you.
The problem is you can hear me, but I can't hear you. I don't know what's the problem. Let me just.
We can hear you. You just tell us.
Let me take some. Let me take some. Yes.
Yeah. Have you found your earphones? Okay. Maybe we rally back to that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. He's found them. Okay. Apologies, guys. Technology
Before
is a
before
very
you
interesting
continue,
thing.
as he prepares himself, let me just extend a little bit on that. You
Yeah.
know, poetry, it has opened a lot of platforms, and it has enabled me not just to tell my story,
Yeah.
but to also tell other refugee stories, to it.
Yeah.
Last year, first time I came on this platform, which is Very Poet, we were
Yeah.
paired together with Kim Tokera, one of the most
Yeah.
talented guy and a very lovely person I've ever met.
Yeah.
And when we met, we did realize something, and he did realize something that not only as a refugee and him as a national, that we did have a collective story when we wrote a piece called "I Know How It Feels." coming from his perspective of being a national and the type of struggle that he does go through, and the type of struggle that I do go through, that did enable him and me to see, that did enable me. I'm sorry, I don't know who that was, but yeah, coming from his own perspective, and coming from my own world and him coming from his own world, we were able to draw one perspective and able to identify and found the midpoint, where we can relate. And at the end of that, at the end of our performance, I did realize that, you see, through collective stories and through poetry, we were able to tell a story, not just in my own perspective, but in his own perspective too. And that really made a change, and it really paved the way. Even though it changed the mindset, even though it doesn't seem big, it did change the mindset towards what a lot of people thought of refugees, and that gives it a very powerful it gives it a very powerful aura, based on my poetry and when it comes to art. So I believe whatever poetry, Mr. Poor, my brother from Ghana, from Liberia, and then Masisi in Rwanda currently, I do believe whatever you guys are doing is not just for yourself, but also for the upcoming generation, paving a way and a platform for them to be able to express themselves and be able to say, this is me and this is my story, not just, ours. Thank you. Point K2, you can continue now.
I'm sorry about the issue of I had some technical problem with my sound. So I hope you guys can hear me now clearly.
Yes, yes.
Yes, we can hear you. What just happened?
I think his network had a problem.
Okay. 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 So as we wait for, I think he's back. Yeah, he's back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, now we can hear you. We can hear you.
Okay, so I'm having a bit of technical problem. You guys will have to bear with me.
It's all good, man. It's all good.
Yeah. So first of all, let me say, me, if I was to describe poetry, first of all, I can say poetry. Poetry to me is unity. Because if not for poetry and art, to me it's unity. Because if not for the art and the poetry thing, we wouldn't all be here. Representative from different types of countries. My brother from Rwanda. We've got the one that is in Ghana, and we've got you guys in Kenya. Me being in Kenya too, but I'm from South Sudan. So to me, first of all, poetry is unity, art in general. So I started doing poetry like 4 years ago, and since before I did poetry, if I was to compare my life when I had no poetry that I was doing and the one that I'm doing now, I can say many things have changed. An example of one of the things that I can say is my approach towards me being a refugee has changed a lot, because way before I started doing poetry, I never discovered what really am I, who am I really as a refugee. But once I got into poetry, I became more much focused on thoughts. I will think so much about how this thing is, how it has impacted me, not only me, but my brothers too and sisters who are also here, others who are also in Ethiopia, others that are also in Uganda. So art, I can say poetry has helped out, because there's a last piece of mine that I did titled Refugee, and in it I talk about my motherland, South Sudan, which is mostly affected because of civil war. You find that most of the time, if you hear the word South Sudan, you'll find that most of the people, the first thing that comes onto their mind is like, oh, yeah, the country that is fighting, right? So in the poetry thing, I say that I go ahead and say that uh, tribe is nothing but a name we've only been given to divide us, because that's what's destroying my country. Too much of tribalism, and it's because of poetry. So, and most of the time, I've gotten text messages from my fellow brothers and sisters. Once I posted the thing on YouTube, most of them were inspired. Most of them got the message. Some of them spread it through other people. So I think it can change, because this is how I say it. If a person from South Sudan comes now from my motherland, runs from South Sudan, comes into Kenya, there's only one thing that first of all you will see. You come and find the life how peaceful most of the people here are. So the first thing that comes onto your mind is the kind of imagination. What if, let me picture my country. What if my country was like this? What am I supposed to do as a citizen when I go back home, so that we can live in peace like the way people over here are living? And so it challenges you as a citizen from another country. So as a refugee, as an artist, I think that's what inspires me a lot to write poetry, so that I can have a bit of change. Whenever I go back home, I have stories to tell. Even if I don't get a platform, I have stories to tell in form of poetry. And I think it's gonna help my people outside that are back at home. And just like my brother David said, he posted something on Facebook, and he said that when whenever you're given a chance, this is what I told him, that whenever you're given a chance to voice out your challenges, uh, as a voiceless kind of a person, you should we should voice out challenges that will help not only you but people back at home, since you're now representing them. So being given this talent by God, I think I've now become the to some of the people who are voiceless, who are also related to some of the challenges that they are going through, and I'm going through as a poet too. So I'm related to the challenges, and through my art, I can tell out their stories, and somehow get a change and get help. So I think poetry is helping, and it's taking change out of life. So that's what I can say.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Poet K2. Um, we always say we are as appealing as our stories, and our stories can only be told only truly if we tell them. Yeah. Our stories are only as strong as we voice them, and it's really an honor to be able to listen to you guys tell us about your experiences. um, we are about to tie this down. Of course, everybody who's tuned in, we are about to go live on both Facebook and YouTube for the Refu Poet 2020 Try My Shoe Festival. We have really packed a really nice and riveting experience for you. If you're in a place where it's cold, you need to just get a mug of something hot and sit down and watch, and just enjoy the performances that we have lined up for you. It's going to be an interesting showcase of stories and performances and contributions by partners who have partnered with us for Refugee 2020 this year, by refugee artists who are going to be doing phenomenal work to show you what the experiences are. We have Dave here, who is part of the cast, and we just want to have this conversation on loop. We're already talking. The people who you see on this live feed, we are in communication. We've been talking since morning on WhatsApp, on phone calls. We've been sharing our stories and having experiences, and we encourage you to do the same live on the different feeds we have. Immediately we are done with this feed, there's another live feed going on Instagram in a few minutes, and we'd like you to engage us also on that front. just before we jump straight into Facebook and YouTube back again for the Refupoe 2020 Try My Shoe Festival, I want now to hand over to my very talented, very capable colleague, Spontaneous. Yeah, to give a comment, ask a question, take us through the comments, to just play with it, however way she feels fit. Spontaneous, kazi kwako.
I can't hear you.
Hi guys.
All right, all right.
I'm saying sorry, technical hitches, Africa, my friends. But yeah, I am really I am first very flattered to be among amazing artists, amazing men out there who are doing an amazing job. This is just an honor and a blessing. And to just have your own views on how poetry really inspires and really poetry heals. It just you just keep on inspiring me the more. uh I just have good things to say about today. I'm just super overwhelmed and amazed by the conversations that we are having. I want to jump straight to the comments because the comment section is very bright, very lit this day. So we have Mildred Ouma who says great, and she just claps up for this conversation. BR says Dave Erjok addressed something
Sorry.
important, especially about. Hi, you guys can hear me? Okay. So BR Alak Kuir said Dev Erjok, you addressed something important, especially about refugee workers. Their incentives are too little and their workload is more than national staff. I'd like to say that is something new I also learned today, and I believe we can rally on this and see how we can change policies through advocacy in this line. Faith Atieno says, this conversation is life changing. We are so privileged to hear you all speak. I have interacted with a lot of refugee artists, including Dave and K2, and surely they are the most graceful, humble, intelligent humans I have met so far. Ah, such love, man. And then goes Xavier, who also appreciates what Faith Atieno is saying. Rebian says the conversation is really eye opening. It teaches me to not take life for granted and appreciate the blessings we have, such as a place to call home. That was really beautiful. And then Bilboa says, thank you for sharing. We appreciate you for letting us in. Uh, Angel Owish says, I love that poetry saves lives. Faith goes on to also mention, anywhere you can find a smile, you can find a home. Masisi. Love this. That was a very beautiful quote, Masisi. Thank you. Uh, Molin Awar says, we are so sorry for what you have and are going through, and thank you for sharing your experiences in your respective foreign countries because we have gotten a first-hand information about how devastating being a refugee can be. How can we assist? Happy World Refugee Day. And it's interesting that that comment closes up the comment section for us. I'm checking the YouTube channel, and currently I haven't received any yet, so I'll just check again later. Meanwhile, I would just like to pose that question to you, like, how can we assist, as per what Molin stated. Thank you so much, Enigma, for this opportunity. I think I'll hand over to you, that we may get various comments from our team. And yeah, probably it will help us forge forward. You know, somebody once said, you don't come up with a solution. You let the person who's having the problem tell you what the problem is and what they think the solution can be. And in that manner, we will be helping more than just assuming that this is what people need. Yeah. So yes, thank you so much, Enigma. So how can we assist?
Great. So now I'm seeing one last comment that just popped into the feed. This is by Karina Dent. Karina Dent says tuned in from Scotland and loving this. Thank you. Happy World Refugee Day. So you can see we had planned the discussion as a Pan-African one, but clearly it's global. Yeah. I just want us, we are tying this down in the next 2 or 3 minutes. And I wanted to say that I feel it's important each one of us gives their closing remarks. And in your closing remarks, I want you to tell us one thing you are hopeful for, yeah, in the hope of having a continental wide conversation that can help us like really express what it means to be a refugee in Africa. And also just, say a word of hope. You never know who's listening. Yeah, so I want to start off with Mr. Paul, your closing remarks and your word of hope. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Okay. Uh, my hope is for my dream to come true, to be who I want to be, and for God to protect me, guide me in my work, and make all my dreams to come true. I know we all have hope, and by the grace of God, we can make it in life. That's my hope. Because as a refugee, I don't lose hope. I'm still hopeful for every life to come. And I pray to God that my dream will come true to be one of the best actors in Africa and even in the world. Thank you very much for having me today on the platform.
Thank you so much for accepting to be here today. Of course, many of you don't know, but I've been having a conversation on the back end with Mr. Paul, and he's shared with me so many videos that I will be sharing with all of you on our social media pages very soon. You'd find them very insightful on the things he goes through when he's on a day-to-day life basis as a refugee in Ghana. Yeah, and you will be tuned in for that. This conversation does not end today after our festival. Yeah, so I'm seeing we've lost 2 people. I want to listen from Poet K2. Poet K2, speak to us. Give us a word of hope and a reflection along with your last remark.
So first of all, let me say to anyone that is watching, let me first of all say in Swahili we say Masamanga, there's something bad that people do say that Santi Apunda ni mateke. That's like when after being helped, there's a way somebody does not appreciate it, of which I don't want it to be like that. So what I'm trying to say is that first of all, I'd like to thank for giving us as refugees an opportunity to be here with you guys, to share our story with you guys, for hosting us. That's the first thing that I would like to say to anyone that is watching. So a big thanks to Kenya for hosting us. Without you guys, I wouldn't be here telling this story right now. You never know what will have happened back at home. And then now to my last remark, which I would just like to say is that no matter all these things that we go through as as human beings. Let me not say as refugees, because not only we do go through this, there are people that are not all that are not refugees, but do go through these things too. What I can say is that I wish, let me say, hope the better days, the brighter future that we'll have testimonies to tell our generation, the coming generation, that this is what we went through, and for you guys not to go through this is how you should do it, and for the next generation to live a very good life. Uh, so I wish in the near future many things will be good and we'll have positive testimonies to tell. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Um, because I'm seeing Dave is trying to join back, but there's still a problem with the network. I think the devices are not complying. However, because time has far much gone and this conversation cannot end, I want to say that we are all human beings, and it's important for us who do not identify as refugees to reflect on this World Refugee Day and and see how much of our privilege we have and how much of it we can set aside so that we understand the situations that our friends are living in, and try as much as possible to level ourselves and help where we can. Help does not need to be financial. It can be you sharing your quality time with them so that they can feel that you understand their humanity. Yeah. And I'm seeing Dave is already here. I don't know if Dave, you can give us your parting shot and your reflection.
Sorry, my phone went off, so I had literally had to switch to a computer.
It's easy.
There's a question, a very vital question that Moline asked, or if I did not get her, a name wrong. She said, "How can we assist?" And that is a very vital question that not only should be posed to refugees, but also to host communities, because I think the most significant way we can all assist each other is by identifying a problem first and standing up for it. Mostly, I think, because refugees are in Kenya and national are in charge of them, and they are the one implementing the services being delivered to refugees. So I think the most vital thing is to assist refugees is first, let's identify ourselves, as nationals. The kind of laws we have, so unlawfully put or based around refugees. That is the most vital thing we can do. And also by standing up for one another, standing up for your brother. If you see a police unjustly arresting a foreigner because he's a refugee, and then you should stand up as a Kenyan or as a national and say this is injustice and this should not be happening. Because I've seen not only the laws allowed, the laws enforcement have a hand in mishandling most of refugees or unjustly mishandling refugees, but also the quietness, the silence of the host contributes to how much these laws are enforced by the police. So I think it is really vital if the host can also speak up and say enough is enough. That's all I can say.
Awesome.
And as my closing remarks, let's continue having conversation around these issues because they cannot only address themselves. They can only be addressed by speaking up and saying enough is enough. It's like the conversation we're having right now, and a lot of people are listening to it. A lot of people are in the dark. They do not know, the laws and restrictions, the kind of life refugees do live. So I think by having conversation around these issues, we are able to desensitize, people on issues and norms and beliefs, that they know about refugees. If you ask someone today, it's funny, like when I ask a Kenyan, do you know where Kakuma refugee is? And I can tell you, this is no lie, 50% of Kenyan, or if you say 40% of Kenyan, mine is not statistic or not factual, but a prediction. You can say that number of host or national citizens, they have no idea where Kukuma refugee is, or they do not even know what a refugee is. So I think it's really vital having conversation around these issues to be able to inform people, inform them and educate them on these very various issues.
Okay, awesome. Thank you so much, Dave. Um, we we have come to the end of this live feed. Yeah, and thank you so much everybody who tuned in. I'm seeing the engagement. It's pure love. I want to direct each and every one of you to our Instagram feed. We have another live session going there just before we set into the actual RefuPoet 2020 Try My Shoe Festival. It's been really great hosting you. I want to let my co-host, give her final remark, and then we will end this broadcast. So spontaneous.
Um, I believe so much has been said. From the challenges being faced. What really got to me was the police brutality bit. Um, and of course, the major challenges that were also shared with everyone, with Poet K2, with Bobby, with Mosesi, everyone. It just speaks, it just says a lot about who we all are as human beings, about how we all are. Some are ignorant unknowingly, some are ignorant knowingly. And to be honest, um, I believe if everyone who's engaging in this conversation right now would take a step further to just understand what being a refugee is and how it feels with regards to the stories that you have told, and have start having a mindset of we are all humans, like a refugee is just a tag, but at the end of the day, we are all just human beings. And you guys have really spoken to my heart today, and to have a mention of how we can help as hosts to just stand up for everyone, whether regardless of whether we are from a privileged side or an underprivileged side. Like at the end of the day, we are all just but human beings. And that has kept on ringing every time I was listening to you guys speak. And I am just so blessed and grateful that you guys willingly shared your stories with us. Like we there's no amount of appreciation or gratitude or anything we say could ever fill up to what you've done today. And just the same way this conversation has started right now, I pray that we may keep having these conversations and make this world a better place, and just be able to grant everyone an opportunity to live, because at the end of the day, that's all we have, our livelihoods. So thank you so much, Robin, for being such an amazing host. uh Thank you, Poet K2. Thank you, Bobby. Thank you, Musefi. Thank you, Erjok, for being here and being present fully. And thanks to everyone who's just been listening in. It really means a lot. Yeah, I am sorry. I hope I haven't spoken much, but it's from the heart. It's from the love, and just again, like I mentioned before, it's beautiful to just hear you guys say your stories. That's what World Refugee Day is all about. But I believe it can be every other day conversations that we may better this space. So with that, as I always say, just live life, love, ishi maisha, pendo. Thank you guys so much. Yeah. Oh yeah,
Okay, thank
people.
you.
uh,
Um, so it was really nice to be with you guys and be able to discuss this kind of issues, and I'm really happy for
yeah.
each. I mean, to meet Mr. Paul and Osisi, if I did pronounce his name right. Nawashukuru sana, mwendelee tu-
Yes.
mwendelee mfanya kazi yenye mnafanya, ni muhimu sana.
Sawa. Kumbe some people over here can speak good Swahili.
Please remember to like the page, subscribe
Yeah.
to the YouTube channel. We have to love you and leave you, but we'll be back with you in a few minutes.
Yes.
Bye bye.
Online festival, good people. Bye.
At 6 p.m. 6 p.m. Don't
Yes,
miss out.
I
It's gonna be great, like
report.
mind blowing.
Totally.